All right, everybody, welcome to GSR Gonzo Sports Room. Wednesday, July 27th, 2022. Had myself muted there for a second. Got a lot of talk about. A lot of things are happening right now in the sports world in a time where there's not a lot of sports going on other than baseball. And I know you got soccer and stuff, but I don't know. I need to try to get into soccer more. It's just a sport I haven't been able to get into. I watch about every sport but soccer. But before we do get started, a couple big birthday shout outs. My daughter Joey, happy birthday to her, and also my niece Braylon. They both had birthdays today. So shout out to them on the happy birthdays. But I'm also joined tonight by the sports judge Jonathan Mathis again. How you doing, Jonathan?
Good, my friend. Good. I'm glad to be back on. First and foremost, happy birthday to your daughter and happy birthday to your niece.
Thank you.
That's cool. So what's going on? What's new, Chris? What's happening?
Not a whole lot. Reds got a win, even though I sat here and cussed at David Bell the whole game because, oh man.
What did he do this time?
Okay, get this. This is the way we started the game. First inning, you have runners on first and second with no outs.
Mm-hmm.
You got Pham up the bat.
Mm-hmm.
You have Joey Votto on deck.
Right.
Okay, no outs. Jonathan India gets thrown out at third trying to steal. It's the first inning of a game. You have 2 runners on with no outs. Why are you trying to steal? That's not a situation you try to steal in. Next batter hits a double. They end up scoring some runs, but they end up getting 3 runs that inning. But he cost himself at least 1 run, maybe more, because they would have had bases loaded with no outs if he wouldn't have got caught trying to steal.
Well, you know what, Chris? That's David Bell for you, my man. That's how he manages ball games. He's not sure of himself sometimes. He doesn't make the right calls. A lot of times. And his poor decisions always come back to bite him in the ass. We see that constantly with David Bell. David Bell, once again, like I told you before, he is not fit to be the manager of that Cincinnati Reds team. But you know what? Somehow, in some way, he is going to hold on to his job. He's definitely going to retain his role as the manager of the Cincinnati Reds, whether people like it or not. Reds fans by now should be used to it because this is how the Reds organization operates. This is how they do business. And, we all know how David Bell is. And David Bell's going to continue to be this way. There's nothing that's going to change unless the Reds finally face reality, and realize that he is not the right guy for the job.
I don't know how some of these guys get hired to be coaches. Because if you watch it, it's like it's little league stuff. It's just game strategy that you should know. You should know in high school, let alone if you're a Major League Baseball coach. And then the Reds, Castillo had another solid start, went another 7 innings.
I did see that.
And we're talking, all the Reds announcers stuff was talking how it could be his last game as a Red at home.
Oh, it will be.
And you could see when he went in the dugout that when he was talking to the coaches and stuff, they all know that he's basically gone. It makes me sick because we always do this.
Yeah, he will
be. We get a player and we don't keep him.
He will be traded. Unfortunately, he will be traded. This is something that the Reds fans are used to by now. You're a Reds fan, Chris. You're a testament to this.
I know by
now you're frustrated. It's pent up frustration. No question about it. I understand your frustration. But as a Reds fan, you know what's coming every year. You know that they're going to dump a lot of talent, that they're going to give up promising players, to try to rebuild all over again, because every year in Cincinnati, it seems like a rebuilding process, year after year after year. How long are you going to rebuild? How many more years is it going to take before you actually become a contending team? And how many years is it going to take for other teams around the majors to finally take you seriously? Every time it looks like the Reds are coming around, they get rid of all their promising players.
That's the problem with the Reds. Every time it looks like we're taking a step forward, then we take 2 steps backwards.
Exactly.
We never can take another step forward. It's always, okay, we're finally going in the right direction. Then we'll take 2 steps backwards. We'll get rid of everybody like they did last year. And then now we can't make it through a full season, and they want to get rid of more of our pitching, which don't make no sense. Our starting pitching has been good. If you take out the first month of the year, the Reds have played 500 or better baseball since May. But the month of April, they were like 2 for 23, and it killed them. That's why it just buried them. But since then, they haven't played bad baseball. They played right at 500 baseball. They would be right there in that National League Central talks if it wasn't for that first month. So they have some players on there with some ability. But if you keep trading players away, we're never going to be able to take another step.
Yeah, and liquidation has become the name of their game. It has become the name of their game. It's repetitive now. You see it year after year after year, and to me, it's got to be painful to wear a Reds hat.
But see, my problem is, or my thing is,
that team.
My thing is, it's a Major League Baseball problem because it's not only the Reds that do this. There's a lot of teams that if you look, it's like they don't try to win. And somehow baseball needs to try to fix that. And then and if they do that and market themselves better, I think baseball could grow again. But
So I'm with you. I'm on board with you there.
until they get where more than 4 or 5 teams are trying to win out of what 30 or 32 teams that are in the league, how can you expect fans in them other markets to care if your team's owners don't care enough to spend a little money and try to win?
Yeah, well, the Marlins, they tend to do this as well. They blow up their roster quite often as well, and that's why you always see
Oakland
a
Athletics,
thin crowd. You see a thin crowd. No one shows up to the games.
Oakland Athletics do the same thing.
Oakland do the same thing. They get rid of all their talent. I mean, they practice this small ball, money ball nonsense, and I mean, it hasn't really gotten them very far. Not very far in baseball. But hey, the Oakland A's, they took care of business in this prior series. They swept the Astros.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
some teams just have your number, and apparently the Oakland A's have the Astros number.
I'll tell you what, coming out of the All-Star break, a lot of the teams that were on a roll going into the All-Star break have been struggling. And some of the teams that were struggling going into the All-Star break have came out of the All-Star break playing some good baseball.
Isn't it weird?
The Athletics, for instance, played good against the Astros. The Mariners were on a 14-game winning streak going into the All-Star game, got swept, lost 3 in a row. Since then they've been playing good baseball again. But the Yankees have been up and down here as of late. The Dodgers lost a series to the Nationals.
Isn't it weird?
So I mean, yeah, it's been weird that like coming out of the All-Star break, some of the teams that were kind of and then Toronto until tonight, Toronto had been playing lights out since after the All-Star break.
Yeah, you know what baseball reminds me of though, Chris? Baseball reminds me of a strange movie. Like one of those sci-fi movies that just doesn't make any sense. Well, that's what baseball is. It's like watching a sci-fi movie and you're trying to put 2 and 2 together and you're trying to figure out, okay, what is this movie actually about? Can we make any sense of this movie that we're watching on the big screen? That's how baseball is.
And that's the problem baseball has.
It's so unpredictable. It's so uncertain. And there's so much suspense in the game of baseball. And that's the same thing you see in a science fiction movie. You see a lot of suspense. You see a lot of thrills. You see a lot of drama. And that's what you get in Major League Baseball.
Well, and that's why baseball needs to change some things because, like I always tell people, the first half of the baseball season really don't matter. As long as you just stay close enough within maybe 10 games of the race in your division or whatever, or even 10 games of the wild card, you still have just as good a chance as anybody to make the playoffs. That's why baseball plays too many games. The first half of the season doesn't mean as much as the second half does. So a lot of people don't start watching baseball till September and October. More people start watching it, and a lot of that is because of that. That's why if you shorten the games, or not shorten the games, but shorten the season some, because look how many years we've seen a team that's been the worst team in the first half of the season end up winning the World Series. The Washington Nationals done it a couple of years ago. The Braves at the All-Star break last year, nobody thought they would win the World Series. You know what I mean? They just lost to Acuna Jr. We all thought the Braves was going to be going downhill. Come back after All-Star break, and they played one of the best team in the league after the All-Star break.
Right.
So it just shows you that they play too many games where the first half of the season really don't mean much. And I think that really affects their numbers of fans, because I don't think a lot of people that aren't diehard baseball fans watch baseball before like September or October. They watch the beginning of the playoffs or maybe toward the end of the season to see who's going to get the wild cards. But I know a lot of people don't watch baseball till it gets closer to playoff time.
Right. They don't watch it all summer long. They don't follow it consistently because, like you said, it's a marathon and not a sprint. But they want to see it when it gets down to the final lap. They want to see who's going to cross the finish line in the end. And yes, that's when most people do watch baseball. That's when more people start to absorb and pay more attention to the game of baseball. I'm with you there. You know, I'm a huge fan of baseball, so I watch it all year round. But yeah, you do have these teams that peak in the months of August and September. And sometimes that's when you see the true identity of a team. That's when you're able to kind of, draw the line and say, you know what? I think this team might have a chance to go on a run. You see how they're playing down the stretch, and August and September are the dog days of baseball. That's when the race is so tight. That's when it's tense. That's sometimes when you see teams start climbing up. They just come from out of nowhere. So I mean, this season is far from being over, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be a few mystery teams out there. There's going to be a few surprise teams that just come out of nowhere. They caught you sleeping on them, and they make something happen. Because we ignore them, we hit the snooze button, and we think teams like the Dodgers, the Mets, the Yankees are an automatic bid, and that they're gonna just run away with this. But that's not how baseball works. It's the team that gets hot at the right time, and it's also a game of momentum. You know, whoever has momentum and whoever is feeling good at that moment, they usually are the ones that can pull away, and they, somehow in some way they find that postseason magic.
Yeah. Sticking with baseball for a second. What do you think about the injury about Mike Trout coming out?
That's a huge blow, and the Angels are already having a terrible year. I mean, this year is a lost year for them. There's no way of salvaging their season. And then you get hit with this news that Mike Trout has some rare back condition. Uh, it's not the news you want to hear. This is something that Angel fans don't want to hear, and it's not sweet music to their ears. Um, this could jeopardize his playing career. I know Mike Trout is downplaying the situation. He's trying to play it off. He's staying encouraged. He really believes that he could fight through this, and he believes that he still has a lot left. We won't know until he's out there playing to see how productive he can be. But this is a guy, Chris, excuse me, who sadly is in steady decline, believe it or not. And, you know, I mean, it pains me to say that about Mike Trout, who is arguably one of the best players in the game, has been, the best player of his generation. We can't argue that, you know. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that, if I didn't acknowledge, his ability to play the game at such a high level. Even though he's kind of exiting his prime, it seems a bit early, because of injury, because of sluggish play, because he's putting so much wear and tear on his body, and because he has done everything possible to carry this team on his back. I mean, that's a heavy burden for a guy who has been a one-man show for a very long time in Anaheim, because you're playing for a dysfunctional franchise that couldn't, do enough to put the right pieces around you so you can make a run for the playoffs. And it's a real shame, because this is a guy who has all the individual accolades you can possibly ask for, but he has never won a playoff game. And that's a problem. And the same thing could happen to Shohei Ohtani if he doesn't get out of there either. The Angels have wasted Mike Trout's prime. It's a real shame that, this is a guy who has been loyal to one franchise, but the franchise couldn't, keep their promise and couldn't do a better job, putting players around him so he can try to make a run, for the playoffs and at least have a chance to, pursue a World Series championship.
Yeah, I think there might be something going on between Trout and the Angels because Trout, like you said, kind of trying to play this injury off. He's making it sound like that trainer was way out of line with the way of why he should have been saying. Uh, so to me, it was like, why would the Angels want this out there, especially if they want it out there? Why would they want it out there to look even worse than maybe what it is? That don't make you know what I mean. That don't make a lot of sense. So I'm kind of confused a little bit. Like, well, is it a bad? He does have something, but how bad is it really? He says it's not really going to affect his career, but I don't. Hey, I've been an athlete. We all been in athletics, and we know that. Hey, we don't think an injury is going to affect us at all, but they catch up to you, and the more and more you have, the more wear and tear you put on your body. Uh, the thing about the Angels is, I don't think it's a lack of trying to put players around them. It's just the moves they made have not hit. Like they went and got Pujols to put with them and thought that was going to hit. He was the aging Pujols. They thought they were going to get another year or two out of him at the level he was playing at in St. Louis, and he wasn't able to give him that. And then you know what I mean. So they've had hit and miss. You get Ohtani. Ohtani's been a bright spot for you, but I still think they don't know how to use them in the correct way. Because I think if they keep using them how they are, they're going to burn him up. I mean, we've seen how quick some major league pitchers can get burned up, and that's when they're not DHing all the time and swinging the bat every day as well. So how long is Ohtani going to be able to sustain this? I'm not saying it's not sustainable, but what I'm saying is we've seen pitchers that just focus on pitching, not be able to sustain long careers. So how much more strain is that on your body of having to hit every day? So
well, see, that's the thing too with Ohtani.
I think that's going to be a tricky situation with him.
I don't think he stays an Angel in the near future. I think he finds another team, and he goes somewhere where he knows, the future is bright, where he knows he has a chance to win a World Series. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Ultimately, you want to, put yourself in the best position possible to win. And I think Ohtani, in a way, is already burnt out. He has been more than just the bright spot of this team. He has been beneficial to that offense. Like he's everything in that team.
But
he's
in fairness,
at
the beginning of the season, there wasn't none of us thought that the Angels was going to be as bad as they've been this year. We all thought the Angels was going to be a contender and at least to make the playoffs and be in contention. But for some reason, they just haven't performed. If you look at their team on paper, you would think, hey, this is a playoff team. And for some reason, just the first half of the season, they have not performed at all. And then now you add this Trout injury to it. You've already fired your coach midway through the season.
That's crazy.
So I mean, if I'd have told you that he was going to get fired at the beginning of the season, you'd told me I was nuts. I mean, a lot of people really thought highly of the Angels going into the season. So it's crazy how that team just hasn't been able to come together as it would look like they would have on paper.
I have a question for you though, before we move on. If you're the Angels, if you're that front office, would you consider packaging both Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout in a deal and shipping them off?
I don't think so.
No?
Because if you ship both of them off, you're going to piss off your fan base. And then the other is with this Mike Trout stuff coming out, you're not going to get as much from Mike Trout as you would have. If they were going to do that, I think they wouldn't have let this come out like it did, and for the doctor to make it sound as bad as he did.
So Mike Trout is a lifer.
I don't know if he's a lifer, but I think if they do trade anybody, if they do make a trade, it would be
Shohei.
Trout. No, I think they would trade Trout and keep Ohtani. But you're not going to get as much for Trout as you would before this injury stuff came out. But I think Ohtani being the younger player and he can pitch, I don't see them. I don't see them letting him go unless he gets to just where he won't sign a contract with them.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's a fair assessment. I could dig that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because Shohei Ohtani is younger. He's still well in his prime, and he's one of the best two-way players the game has ever seen. He's arguably the Babe Ruth of the modern era.
Yeah.
So yeah, you don't want to lose out on that guy, even if he's unsatisfied, even if he's not, content with the current situation. Now your job, since you messed up with Mike Trout, your job is to make it better for Shohei Ohtani.
And then
while you still can. And that would be to lay the foundation down in that starting rotation and that bullpen. You got to solidify the starting rotation. I talked a little bit about this earlier. And you got to fortify that bullpen because that's been a glaring weakness for the Angels for far too long. And they still have not addressed those needs. That's an area of concern, their starting rotation and their bullpen. And we all know, Chris, if you want to win the World Series, what is the thing you need the most? Good pitching. Because without good pitching, you're not going to win the World Series. You can have a powerful lineup. You can have the most potent lineup in baseball. You can have guys spraying the ball all over the field, smacking the ball out of the park, delivering balls over the fences that land in the stands for someone to catch as a souvenir. That's fine and dandy. Okay, that's what everyone likes in today's era. They like to see the home run ball. But at the end of the day, pitching is crucial, and pitching is what wins the World Series, and pitching is what wins games in October.
Oh yeah, if you look at all the teams, the top 4 or 5 teams in the National League and the top 4 or 5 teams in the American League, one thing they're all going to have in common is they're going to have a pretty decent team ERA. Their team ERA isn't going to be in the high 4s or the low 5s. It's going to be in the low 3s, maybe the high 3s. But you're not most of your top teams. You're not going to be in the 4s and 5s in team ERA. You have to have a good bullpen, and then you have to have some good, even if they're not great starters, some solid starters that can at least get you 5 or 6 innings each time they pitch,
right,
and still keep you in the game. Even if you might be down 1-2 or 2-3, but keep you in the game and give you a chance.
That can go deep into the rotation. And see, back in the day, like when you watch 90s baseball, the bullpen wasn't so vital like it is today. The bullpen, now these teams nowadays, they use their bullpen arms more. Used to see starters go deep into games. That's not
analytics.
That's not how it is today because of analytics or because the pitcher just doesn't have enough to go deep.
Well, most of it is once the pitcher gets ready to face the lineup for the third time, they yank them because of analytics. They yank them. So I always say this about David Bell. I say he's in a fucking hurry to get to the bullpen. Every game, it's like bullpen. I'm like, dude, I've seen the pitcher only have thrown 70 pitches in a game, and let's take him out. It's like he's thrown 70 pitches. He threw more than 70 pitches warming up.
Well, I could name the managers that rely heavily on analytics. We got one here in LA. That's Dave Roberts is big on analytics.
And how's it going, Eddie? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, what's up, Eddie?
Hey, Brett, sorry to hear that you had a rough day. So, hey, glad to be here. Hopefully we can make your day a little better.
Yes, hopefully we can. And thanks for joining us to talk a little sports with us, man. That's awesome.
Before we move on from baseball, because there's some other things, Stanton So we had another big star with the injury. I think Stanton was an Achilles injury, if I remember right. How big is this going to affect the Yankees here in the second half of the season?
Oh, here we
if
go
you
again.
If you have a Giancarlo Stanton that isn't 100%,
it never fails with Stanton. You know, I don't like wishing injury on a player. I never wish injury on a player. But it was only a matter of time that this guy would get hurt because he's another guy that's obviously made of glass, right? He can't stay healthy. And when he's healthy, Chris, he's a phenomenal player. You know, this is a slugger. This is the absolute definition of a slugger because that's what he is. And we saw, you know, his performance during the All-Star game at Dodger Stadium. He was amazing, you know. Hit a home run in a ballpark that he grew up going to watch Dodger games because he's a Los Angeles native, a Southern California guy. And, you know, he had the game of his life that night. And now you hear the news about his Achilles injury. That could have an effect on the Yankees. Now what this does, that puts more on Aaron Judge's body. You know, and now if I'm a Yankees fan, I'm a little worried about him possibly getting healthy now because he's going to feel like he has to step it up more. He's going to be doing more. He's going to be, you know, swinging more aggressively, running the bases harder, doing everything twice as hard than he was when Stanton was batting. I believe Stanton bats behind him, right?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so I mean, you know,
I'm pretty sure. I'm not going to say I'm positive because I'll be honest with you. I hate the Yankees.
I don't know the lineup.
I don't watch much Yankees at all.
Right. But batting behind them, batting before them, still.
I watch them when they play the Reds.
A lot of the spotlight's going to be on Aaron Judge now. You know, the pressure is going to be on him, especially with the season that he's having.
And let me ask you this:
this guy's having a season. He's basically begging the Yankees. Pay me now.
Let me ask you this.
Pay me now.
How many seasons has the Judge made it a whole season without getting hurt?
Not too many.
So Dale Stanton's went down. Could this be a thing where Judge starts trying too hard and maybe he gets an injury?
That's exactly.
And then you're back to what's happened in previous years.
That's exactly my point. So now that's the biggest fear if you're a Yankees fan.
And what's gotten into this Oakland Athletics team? They couldn't hit the ball worth of shit. First half of the season, they were hitting like 210 as a team. And coming out of the All-Star break, they've been pounding the ball.
Well, we talked about that earlier, right? Sometimes these teams come on in the second half. You know, and the A's, man, they just been on this magical run. This is a team that really has nothing to lose, though.
I know OJ. You know,
and when teams have nothing to lose.
Yeah, I know OJ's not happy tonight. His team got beat by the A's.
Yeah, I know Jay is throwing a fit over there in Houston, Georgia.
Well, let's throw it over to a little bit of football. Kyler Murray signs a big contract,
right,
with the Arizona Cardinals,
right?
Which I kind of felt they're overpaying them, but they were in a spot where they really didn't have no choice. So I understand why they done it. But after what came out now, that they put a clause in his contract that he had to watch like 4 hours of film a day or whatever. They put a study clause in there, and he gets so much more money for doing it. Does that make Kyler Murray look bad? Well, who looks worse in this situation, Murray or the Cardinals? Because to me, who leaked it? It had to be the Cardinals that leaked it. And if you're the Cardinals, why would you leak it? Because it makes you look bad. Because now you're saying, well, he's not fully committed, but we just gave him $200-something million. So I don't understand like who leaked it, because why would the Cardinals leak it? But why would Murray's people want this out here either?
Right. Why would Murray's camp want that out there?
But it does concern me that my quarterback basically said he don't think he needs to watch film because he sees a lot in his mind.
Yeah, see, that makes him look bad. To me,
that's just kind of crazy.
Right. It really doesn't make the Cardinals look bad. That's probably why they put that in his contract, right? Because they know this guy
Yeah,
doesn't
but
watch
if you had to put that in his contract, why would you pay a guy that much money?
because, like you said, they basically had no choice but to. They really have no other
That's,
option at
that's
quarterback.
true.
They
Unless
have
you
no
want to
other
go through a
option
whole
at
nother
quarterback.
rebuild.
And they had to pay him because the market continues to go up for quarterbacks, and
And they don't want to go through another rebuild again.
right, and also the timing of the deal. So they felt obligated to pay him, and they gave him a boatload of money. And now people are questioning it because, for one, Chris, people question this guy's character. They also question his leadership. And that's been the knock on him, is that he's not a great leader. And there's people that said they couldn't even get along with him.
Yeah.
And that he's really tough to work with. So maybe this is a man that will start showing up to work. He will start, putting more into his craft. Working harder, watching film now that he got paid, because sometimes getting paid, and I know it's not all about money, but sometimes getting paid makes you feel really good, and it makes you want to come to work, and it makes you want to work extra harder. So maybe now he'll take, his job as a quarterback more seriously, and actually put in the work and put in the effort and watch film. You gotta watch film. I don't like that comment. No, it's not all in your head.
I can see it in my head. I see so much in my head.
No,
I'm like, I see a lot of shit in my head, but that don't mean that it makes I don't need to do things.
That's silly. That's silly. I don't even know why he made that statement. He was better off keeping his mouth shut. No, dude, you still gotta watch film. You still gotta participate in practice, in drills. You still have to work out, stay in shape, have a workout regimen, have a game plan, understand the team that you plan each week. You got to scout for those guys. You got to be mentally and physically prepared going into a game each week. So you never rest on your laurels. I don't care how great of a quarterback you are. All the great players who ever played at the quarterback position have watched film, have dissected plays, have a vast understanding of what their team is going up against.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And this dude hasn't done enough yet to be even considered a great player.
Right. So to say that, it makes
Does he have the potential?
Cocky.
I would say yes. I think he has the potential, but
he has the potential.
He hasn't accomplished anything to be able to say that he's a great player yet.
And that comment, it comes off as a person who is self-absorbed, and that's a bit arrogant. That's cocky. That's why I said this is a guy who really
and they're setting themselves up for failure. The Cardinals or whoever leaked this is setting themselves up for failure, because now not only do you not have DeAndre Hopkins the first 6 games of the season, now there's even more pressure on Kyler Murray to perform, because if he don't, the media is going to still be talking about, well, he said he didn't need to watch video. Maybe if he watched video, he'd be playing better.
Right.
So not only are you already going into the season without your best weapon, now there's more pressure on your quarterback to perform, to keep the outside noise out.
And they're going to chastise him. There's no question about that. Because these comments he made, because what he did was open himself to criticism by making those kind of comments. You don't say those kind of things. You study, you game plan, you prepare, you watch as much film as you can. If I'm a quarterback, I'm watching as much film as I can. Chris, as a podcaster and as a sports writer, I read as many articles as I can.
Yeah.
As a podcaster, I watch as many podcasts as I can. You know why? Because what this does, it sharpens my skills as a podcaster. It makes me better as a podcaster. I never rest on my laurels. I continue to get better by studying other people and watching how they do things. And I take some of those principles and apply it to my work. And that's how we grow. And that's how we continue to get better, by watching other people and kind of emulating their style.
That's how it works.
Not basically taking everything, but having some originality along with some of their style.
Well, and that's how it is in everyday life for anybody. I mean, if you have a regular job, what do? You work to try to keep getting promoted to different levels of that job so you make more money.
Right.
You don't be satisfied that you're
right. You don't settle. Right.
No, you are always looking, and if you can't make what you want at that job, you're looking for a better place that's going to pay you what you think you're worth.
Exactly.
And don't do you no good to have an ego. The more you work with people, you can always learn from somebody. And I don't care in what you're doing. That's anything. And then also, another team I think is making a big mistake is the San Francisco 49ers. Shanahan came out and said that it was Trey Lance's team.
Oh, God.
Do you think San Francisco is going to regret this move?
Yes, they're going to regret this move. They're turning to a guy that didn't play a full season. They're turning to a guy that they don't have much film on. Like, you really didn't get a chance to evaluate him. You really don't have much film on him. You don't have much to go by. And I guess John Lynch is seeing something that we're not seeing, but I'm not sure what he is seeing. Maybe he's relying on an eye test that we don't really have much information on. We don't really have much to go by because we haven't seen much of Trey Lance. And I think it would be another disaster to throw him out there, particularly on week 1. Because I think, I think you throw the kid out there and, these grown men are going to come at him and they're going to say, welcome to the NFL, son. And they're going to just pound him to the ground, But I think they're making a mistake. I think you stay with Jimmy G. Look, familiarity, right? This guy's been, your quarterback for several seasons now. You got by with him. You've gotten enough production out of him. No, he's not the greatest quarterback. No, he's not a Drew Brees. No, he's not a Tom Brady. No, he's not an Aaron Rodgers. But he's done enough to get to put your team over the top and get your team damn near to the Super Bowl. Yes, he makes mistakes with the football at times. Yes, he throws interceptions. But I think I would rather have Jimmy G as my quarterback than Trey Lance because there's a lot of uncertainty around Trey Lance.
Yeah, I believe the 49ers are making a huge mistake here. I don't understand all the Jimmy G slander. This is a dude that when he plays, the 49ers win. When Kyle Shanahan has not had Jimmy G as quarterback, he has a losing record as the San Francisco 49ers coach. When he has Jimmy G as a quarterback, they win. If it wasn't for a pass, you can make the argument if it wasn't for a bullshit pass interference call on George Kittle in the Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl they took San Francisco to, they'd have won the Super Bowl maybe. Last year, they were real close to getting back to the Super Bowl. Well, had lost there right at the last second. To me, Jimmy G is an above average quarterback. Is he at that top tier level? No. But he's at a high enough level that you can win a Super Bowl with a quarterback like Jimmy G. And I think 49ers are really making a mistake. And I think this move here in the next couple of years could end up costing Lynch and Shanahan their jobs.
Yeah, I know you've been saying that too, and it very well could. I mean, if you go to Trey Lance and if you have him at center, and he is mediocre, yes, that can cause people to lose their jobs.
I honestly think they won't have a winning record this year. if Trey Lance starts the whole season for him, I don't think the 49ers will have a winning record this year. There's nothing against Trey Lance. It's just I haven't seen enough to say that he's ready.
No,
I know what I'm going to get from Jimmy G. I'm going to be in We're going to be probably in contention.
I haven't seen enough to say Trey Lance is ready either. And I think you could compare this 49ers team to the Angels. I think they would be the Angels of the NFL. The reason I say that is because
what's going on in California then, Jonathan?
The reason I compare these two teams is because you have Shohei Ohtani, right, in Anaheim, right? An otherworldly talent, right? This two-way player who is maybe the greatest in the game today. And then you look at Deebo Samuel, who is a power running back, who is a combo wide receiver, who is great on special teams, who can damn near beat a quarterback if you put him at the quarterback position. I mean, the guy is a skillful athlete, can do everything, can beat you with his feet, can run his routes successfully. He's the face of your franchise. He's carrying the heavy load. He's doing it all for you. Well, that's the same that you see in Anaheim. Shohei Ohtani is doing it all. So I think that's a fair comparison to say that the 49ers and the Angels are in similar situations.
Question for you there, Jonathan, from Eddie.
I'm always hit to the shirt game. This one has me lost. Oh, okay. So you see TF Tight Fitted. Tight Fitted is a clothing line that my friend started, my best friend. He's one of my good friends, a childhood friend who I went to elementary school, middle school, and high school with. We both grew up in the same suburban city outside of Los Angeles, Cerritos, California. And this is his clothing line, and I support his clothing line. If you guys are interested, check out tightfitted.com. That is tightfitted.com. They don't only have graphic tees like this. He has sweatpants. He has hoodies. He's trying to get into jeans. That's more expensive, as we all know. But it's a small business, and it's an up-and-coming business. And I love supporting his brand. And you guys can do the same as well if you guys get over to www.tightfitted.com.
Yeah, I think the 49ers are making a big mistake. I don't know. And I think Jimmy G is going to go somewhere else and be able to have some success because, like I said, I'm not saying he's the greatest quarterback, but he's an above average quarterback and can help a football team win games.
He's like Joe Flacco. He does enough.
And you're valuable in the NFL if you can help a quarterback or help a team win games because there's not a whole lot of quarterbacks that can do that. That's why
Chris, don't discount
quarterbacks so often.
But Chris, don't discount the 49ers defense.
No, they're going to have a good defense, but I just don't know if they're going to have enough offense to
match that defensive intensity.
They could end up being like the Bears where you have a great defense, but your offense is killing you.
Your offense is stagnant and it stinks. Yeah.
I mean, I hope not. Hey, I hope Trey Lance gets off to a great start. I just think he's
you like me. We just don't see it yet.
Yeah, I think he still needs more time, and I know why the 49ers are doing it because they moved up and took the guy at 3, so you got to play him. But it also comes to a point where you just got to admit, hey, we made a mistake and he's not ready yet. I think if they have a bad year this season and a bad year next season, you could see maybe Lynch and Shanahan being gone because you had a guy that was, at least you might not have won a Super Bowl, but you were in contention. Your team had a chance to get there.
And I have given a lot of credit to John Lynch because I think, quite frankly, he has done a great job. He has done a tremendous job constructing this roster, putting it all together. He hired a mastermind in Kyle Shanahan. But like you said, this will be that one dreadful mistake that could change everything.
Jimmy G is not a starter. Neither is Trey Lance. It's hard to say Jimmy G's not a starter when he has a winning record as a starter.
Yeah.
Uh, but Trey Lance, we just don't know. I don't think Trey Lance is. I really don't. Can he grow into a starter? I'm not saying he can't.
The
But
potential is there.
I mean, I just don't know if the 49ers believe in him because if they what changed from last season to now and or over the offseason because you still had you've kept Jimmy G on your roster this long. So why you would have a better chance of getting rid of Jimmy G earlier in the offseason.
Yep.
And to me, if you really believed in Lance, you'd been trying to get rid of Jimmy G. I know one reason they were having trouble getting rid of Jimmy G was his shoulder injury because he had just had that shoulder surgery. So I think teams wanted to make sure he made a full recovery and could pass physicals and everything before they were going to be in trade talks. So I do understand that. But it just didn't seem like the 49ers were in a big, real urgency to trade Jimmy G. So to me, that kind of said, though, we're not 100% sure on Lance. Then you had Joe Burrow having appendix surgery. Do you think this will be a big deal?
Nah, I think he'll be fine. I don't think this would affect him too much, And he's mentally tough. Um, he's a competitor, a fierce competitor, and he's a leader, so I think he'll be fine. I think he'll come back strong next season, and I think he would continue to do what he does best, and that is quarterback his team.
God forbid that the only way I don't see anything or see him not or seeing it being a big deal is if somehow there was some complications. But I mean, if everything goes right, they say most people in like 10 days, if they have to be like 10 days no contact, well, hell, he's a quarterback, so he don't get contacted at practice anyway. So, I mean, after 10 days, he's still going, even if he starts practicing, he still ain't going to get touched. I mean, I'd like to see the guy to be the dummy to make that mistake and hit Joe Burrow when he comes back after this surgery in practice. I do be getting cut by the end of practice. So, I mean, you know how much these teams value a quarterback, especially when you have a guy like Joe Burrow that had no offensive line at all last year and somehow got your team to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that guy took quite a beating last year. And he took a beating.
Think about that. He got sacked nine times in a playoff game.
Yes, and he got sacked in the Super Bowl. He got sacked quite a bit in the Super Bowl.
I think it was 7 times in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I believe that was an NFL record.
And it still had his team there with a chance to win the game.
Yes, he did.
So I mean, just think if the Bengals get, which they've tried this offseason to upgrade that offensive line. If they get a solid offensive line in front of him, that offense is going to be scary.
Yeah,
him
and I think they have addressed it. I think they have addressed it.
Yeah, they did. They really tried a lot to address the offensive line this offseason. They have.
Yeah, so now he won't be running for his life. I mean, the dude has the swagger and he has the mobility. But, now with the offensive line, that'll buy him more time, to throw darts perfectly down the field. And we all know he could spread the field with his ability to throw the ball downfield.
Yes, Eddie, I do cover MMA. Actually, this Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern on Gonzo'S Sports Room channels and on the ASAP Sports Network, I'll be doing Pride will be joining me, and we're going to be doing a UFC preview and prediction show for the big pay-per-view Saturday night. And then we'll also be doing a live watch along and reaction to the UFC pay-per-view Saturday night on this channel as well. But yeah, I'm a big MMA fan. And Friday night on the Friday night show, we'll talk a little bit about the MMA, at least go over the card. Oh yeah, I'm a big MMA fan. So
that's you and Pride's niche right there. I'm not really knowledgeable when it comes to MMA. I'll get there though.
we appreciate it, Eddie. Said he'll be there. Oh yeah, I remember back. I was probably in high school, maybe middle school, and it's when the UFC first started. And back then, they didn't have gloves, didn't have weight classes, didn't have rounds, and they would fight a tournament. So you would see the same guy fight more than once in a night. And these guys would get in there and they would fight until somebody got knocked out or somebody quit. And you could see a 160-pound guy fighting a 300-pound guy. And I mean, it was bare knuckle. And I remember my mom being at the house one night and she's like, "What are you guys watching?" And me and Dad been watching it ever since. And it's evolved into more of a real sport now with it got some rules and more rules and regulations, went to the rounds. But yeah, it's a fun sport to watch. Honestly, if it would have been as popular as it was popular back when I was coming out of high school as it is now, I probably would have tried to fight some MMA because I was such big into wrestling and I was always training.
Right.
But they didn't have the weight classes and stuff like that or the lighter weight classes, I should say, till I was older. If they would have had the lighter weight classes back then, I probably would have. I don't know if I'd ever made it to that level, but I probably would have gave it some kind of a go if they'd had lighter weights.
And MMA, I do know this much: MMA is the new boxing now. This younger generation, is more found of this type of fighting. This style of fighting. They like it. You could do more than boxing. You're not just throwing your fists. You're not just throwing jabs. You're kicking. It's like fighting in the streets. It's like having a street fight, and so that's what makes it more exciting. And it caters to this again. It caters to this younger generation that seems to be more attached to MMA than they are boxing.
Do you think how big of an impact do you think Julio Jones is going to have with Tampa Bay?
I think he's going to have. I don't want to say a significant. I mean, that's not the right adjective to use, but he will have. I guess you could say somewhat of an impact, right? He's playing with Tom Brady. Tom Brady is his quarterback now. What could possibly go wrong, right? It's a 1-year deal. You're not really running the risk. Julio Jones said he wanted to team up with Tom Brady. Tom Brady was game to team up with Julio Jones as well. And Julio Jones doesn't have to be the number one guy. He could kind of sit in the back seat a bit. He doesn't have to be the number one guy like he was in Atlanta. Age and injury slowed him down. He's not the most dangerous offensive weapon in the league anymore, but he has guys around him now. And Tom Brady just gets another weapon. That gives Tom Brady another weapon. Tom Brady already has the Bucs leading receiver in Chris Godwin. I know he's out right now with the injury. But then you got Mike Evans as well. So you got guys that can catch the football. And Tom Brady is definitely the GOAT. And he's going to make sure those guys get their targets, and he's going to do everything he can to make sure they're involved in the offense. And, what better way to have it for Julio Jones? Now Julio Jones can win his first, Super Bowl championship with Tom Brady. How incredible is that, So I think this is a great signing. I think this makes the Tampa Bay Bucs a Super Bowl favorite. I think this makes them more dangerous because their defense is not all that bad either. People overlook their defense, but their defense is pretty solid. But I think Julio Jones signing was a good signing.
I think it was a good signing on one caveat. If Julio Jones stays healthy.
Yes.
Because I agree with Eddie. I love Julio, but he breaks easily. He's had a lot of trouble staying healthy. Right. I know a lot of people wanted to blame his bad year last year on all Ryan Tannehill. It wasn't all Ryan Tannehill. Julio Jones wasn't on the field very often. And Tannehill isn't the best quarterback, no. But look at the numbers that A.J. Brown put up with Tannehill. So it wasn't all Tannehill. But if Julio can stay healthy, I think this is a perfect situation for him. Because a lot of people was saying that he was going to go to the Colts. And I even thought maybe he might end up with the Colts because of the relationship with Matt Ryan. But I think Tampa Bay is a better fit for him than what Indy is, because they already have receivers. He can go there. He don't have to carry the load. He can be the third option. With the Colts, he was still going to be your number one or number two option because, I mean, honestly speaking, who do the Colts have at receivers? And I'm a Colts fan, but our receiving core is our weakness right now. Right now we're going into the season with Travis Pittman as our number one receiver. Nothing against Travis Pittman because he had he had a good second year season last year, and not saying that he's not going to be a number one. We don't know if he's ready to be a number one yet. And so for that reason, I think Tampa was a better fit for Julio, but I just think it all hinges on if it's going to be a workout. It's all going to depend on the injuries. If he can stay healthy, I think he has a solid season. Not saying he's going to have the old Julio season, but I think he'll be a solid contributor. But I just don't know if he can stay healthy for a whole season.
Right, and that's the question mark, is his availability. Will he be able to stay healthy and stay on the field? And even if he can't stay healthy, the crazy thing is Tom Brady and the Bucks have more than enough to still hurt you.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, and even if Julio Jones is out, he could still get a Super Bowl ring because his name is still on the roster.
Yep. That's true. Might get a ring and not have to really do much. I mean, we've seen it happen.
Yes, we have.
Metcalf, I said he's not going to practice until he gets a contract. How long do you think this standoff between him and Seattle is going to last?
I don't think it's going to be too long, but this is a guy who thinks highly of himself. He's definitely one of the top receivers in the game today. He's definitely the it factor in that receiving corps, you know, with all that they've lost in Seattle. So I think sooner than later, they would definitely get a deal done for DK Metcalf, lock him up as they should, because this is a guy that you're going to be banking on in the future. This is, you know, one of your top weapons on that offense. And I think you got to get something done for him because he's an amazing wide receiver and he has the size advantage over a lot of receivers, you know, because of his height and his ability to come down with the football. You know, he's a great player out there. But the question I have now is who's going to throw him the football?
That's why I could see maybe Seattle trying to trade Metcalf, because you already know you're in rebuild mode, because you're either going to have, as of right now, Drew Lock or Geno Smith as your starting quarterback. So you're already in rebuild mode. So you want to put a bunch of money into a wide receiver at this point, when your number one thing is going to have to be to get a quarterback. Your running back that had been your number one running back for quite a few years, Carson, retires. So you have a lot more things you need than just that one receiver right now. So I think it could be a thing where maybe they don't pay him that money and they try to get what they can for him and kind of move on. Do I think that's the right move? No, because I think Metcalf is I think he's a good wide receiver, and I think he can make your team better. But just the situation Seattle's in, I don't know if it makes a whole lot of sense to be throwing a bunch of money at a receiver.
They're in a rebuild. It's a rebuilding project now in Seattle.
Yep. And then Eddie says he wants to know what's up with Tyreek Hill. I think Tyreek Hill is I don't know. I think he's really going to miss Patrick Mahomes this year. I just don't think he's a good fit with the quarterback that the Miami Dolphins have.
He called Tua the most accurate passer.
Oh, I know. He must be smoking some pretty good herbs.
Yeah. Must be because
there's no comparison.
There's really no comparison.
Tua's done nothing.
Mahomes is not even close to being in Tua's league.
No, Tua has done nothing that you can mention him as in the same sentence as Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
But no, I just think it's a bad fit for Hill because Tua's not a deep ball thrower.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's not a deep ball thrower. So
right.
How is he going to fit in there? Because Tyreek Hill's not known. Just be honest. He's not known for his route running.
No, he just has the speed and the agility.
He's known for his speed and known for being able to make plays when the play breaks down.
Playmaker.
Well,
he's a dynamic playmaker because of his speed.
And he was the best. He was good at when the play broke down, but he was also with one of the best quarterbacks when a play breaks down. He's not no more. Tua's not a great quarterback when the play breaks down. And Tua's not a deep ball thrower. So I just don't know how it's going to I don't have a lot of faith in that.
It doesn't really complement Tyreek Hill's game. Tua doesn't complement his style of play. It'll be interesting though. Because now the Dolphins have a new coach. They're going to have a new offensive playbook. They have better linemen now to protect Tua. So, again, this is a make or break year for Tua.
Yeah. Damien said, what's your thoughts on the Seahawks players retiring? I think some of these older Seahawks players see that it's a rebuild, and they've just decided that they're not going through a rebuild, that they've made enough money, and they're going to enjoy the rest of their lives.
Yeah, they're just going to chill now. They're just going to go home.
I think they've decided, why put my body through this punishment, and we don't have a chance to win.
They're going to go home. They're going to stretch out on their recliner, pop them a nice coat, snack on some snacks, and watch some football on Sundays.
Yeah. A lot of these players don't even, it's crazy. You talk to a lot of these players, they don't even watch it.
Oh, yeah.
Once they get out of it, they want to stay away from it.
Right.
But, well, before we get out of here, you got any final thoughts, Jonathan?
Man, this was another great show. Gonzo, thanks for having me on. I really love coming on this show. Maybe we should consider doing a show together and have it once a week or something. You know, I would be down for that because I feel like we have that chemistry, that connection. And this is the calmest I've ever been really on a show. You know, I don't know what it is. I think we just are compatible and we just work good together, you know. But again, this was a fun show. Great topics again tonight. And I want to thank all the people who chimed in, tuned in.
Yeah. We appreciate all the comments.
Yeah, we greatly appreciate that. And Chris, I appreciate you for having me on once again.
You gonna be on Friday?
Hell yeah.
All right. Yeah, Friday we'll have another big show Friday. There's a lot of baseball season starting to heat up. It's going to be interesting to see which of these teams that had a bad first half come back and are in contention, and which of these teams that had a good first half fall back. The Red Sox they look terrible right now. They couldn't even field and throw a ball today. I don't know what all that was about.
Yeah, they had trouble fielding the ball, and you know they just went cold offensively. They were kind of, you know, hot there during their stretch, but then they cooled down. I don't know.
And
but
then
that's baseball.
Yep. And also, before we get out of here, if you're a pro wrestling fan, we had a big interview earlier this evening with pro wrestling tag team, the Bulletproof Posse. It was a great time talking to them guys. Go check that out. You can find it on our YouTube or Facebook pages. We also live stream independent pro wrestling. We don't have a show this weekend, but next weekend we'll be doing 2 shows. We'll be doing a show on Saturday and a show on Sunday. And for wrestling fans, I know you guys will know this name. The Pope Elijah Burke will be on both those shows. He's a great guy. I've got to meet him last time he was around here, so I'm looking forward to that. He'll be on wrestling on both those shows that Saturday and Sunday. Like I said, we are doing a watch along this Saturday night for SummerSlam pay-per-view or premium live event. I forgot, WWE don't call them pay-per-views no more. And then also the big UFC pay-per-view, Nunes and Pena 2. Both has a stacked card for that UFC, so really looking forward to that Saturday night. We'll be going live at 8 o'clock for the wrestling, and then the UFC starts at 10 o'clock. So come join us for that on the Gonzo Sports Room channels. You'll also be able to find that on the Unscripted Facebook channel as well. Jay and them guys are going to be on there. Should be a fun night. We will see you guys again with another episode of GSR on Friday night. And Jonathan, we'll definitely talk about doing a regular show together. We'll definitely talk about that. But yeah, I appreciate everybody watching. Please hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I post all the information about all of our shows. I'm always sharing something on there, so we're pretty easy to find. I post stuff all the time, but yeah, I have my sports betting show tomorrow. No GSR tomorrow, but we do have a sports betting show. And tomorrow, no interviews. I've had an interview every day this week, but I will be on Unscripted tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. So go check out their show. You can find it on the ASAP Sports Network or on Unscripted on Facebook. And then other than that, we will see you guys on Friday night again for another episode of GSR. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night. Stay safe.
Bye-bye.